We are live. Hello and welcome to the fourth annual March Madness men's bracket live stream, breaking down the bracket as it's released live. And I have some initial thoughts. So I'm going to go through first the teams to watch. Then I'll go through the higher seeds to watch, so maybe the Cinderellas, and then I'll go through the overrated teams if I have time. The selection show is 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on CBS, so I'll be basically breaking it down live. So we'll go region by region, and then after all regions have been released, I will do a breakdown of each region, a breakdown of which games I think are most interesting, who's my pick to win the region, and then also selecting my top upset. So that's what we'll be doing. So I'm going to start off with my teams to watch. These are the top teams that I think could go deep in the tournament. So the first team I wanted to highlight is St. John's. They're led by Zuby Ejiofor, who I'm pretty sure is the Big East Player of the Year. Their defense was absolutely stifling against UConn in the Big East Championship game. Another team I'd like to highlight is Vanderbilt. They're led by Tyler Tanner, Devin McLaughlin, Duke Miles, and Tyler Nickel. They have a lot of shooting on that team. They can also defend at a high level, and they made it all the way to the SEC championship game and ultimately lost to Arkansas. Arkansas is another team I wanted to highlight. They're led by two freshmen, Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff. Darius Acuff is legitimately a top-tier player in the country, and I think if he does well in the tournament and Arkansas has good support from their supporting cast, I think Arkansas has a chance to make a run to the Elite Eight or perhaps even the Final Four. Iowa State is another team that I wanted to mention. They're led by Milan Momcilovic and Josh Jefferson. Momcilovic is the best three-point shooter. He shoots a high volume of shots, and he also makes a high percentage. He's shooting around 50% on the year. And if you're just joining, I'm going through the teams to watch. So we're about to have this go live. Let's see. And pretty soon the selection show will be live. I was just going over the teams to watch. And so some of the higher seeds to watch, we're looking at... Hi, good to see you. I'm basically going through the bracket and who I think will advance far. I'm going to quickly go through my higher seeds to watch, and then as the selection show goes on and we have commercial breaks, I'll go into a little more detail on this. So McNeese is one team I have my eye on. They made the tournament and won in the round of 64, which is the opening round last year in 2025. So they have a lot of experience. I think experience is it's great to have teams with a lot of experience. And since McNeese was able to make it last year, I think that experience could get them to win in the tournament, maybe even two. Akron has gone to 3 straight NCAA tournaments. They're good at coming back from big deficits as well. St. Louis is another team I would keep an eye on. They have Robbie Avila and Ishan Sharma, who are both sharp shooters from 3. They both shoot above 40% on the season. And if they make the tournament, which I think they will, I think Santa Clara is another dangerous team to keep an eye on. Santa Clara is led by Elijah Mahi and Alan Graves, and they made a run to the West Coast Conference Championship game. defeating St. Mary's along the way. St. Mary's will be a lower seed, probably a 6 or a 7 or maybe an 8. And now we're getting ready for the selection show. So what I'm basically going to do is write down each region as we go through. I'll write down each region and then I'll break it down later in the live stream. So we're going to have an introduction probably here in a minute. And if you're interested in watching the selection show, it's live on CBS, whatever channel that is where you are. And I'll be watching, I have my computer off to the left here, so I'll be watching it on there. So just quickly, Northern Iowa, Hawaii, VCU, VCU especially, I think that's a team to keep an eye on. And Penn, I watched them today. TJ Power had 44 points against Yale in the Ivy League championship game. When you have a player that can get points like that, it's going to be hard to stop that type of a team if they get the right matchup. So we're about to see who the number 1 overall seed is. I think there's a pretty good consensus at this point that it's probably Duke. Michigan might fall down to number 3. We'll see. Number 3, they'll still be a 1 seed, but so Duke is the number 1 overall seed. Duke. And we are in the East region. So Duke is the number 1 seed. And they will be playing Siena, the 16 seed. Siena's had a solid season under second-year head coach Jerry McNamara. And now we're looking at the 8-9 matchup. Ohio State is the 8 seed. And the 9 seed is TCU. TCU is the 9 seed. So that'll be a fun matchup. The 5 seed is St. John's. That's a team I mentioned off the top as a team to keep an eye on. They won the Big East championship game against UConn. And the 12 seed who St. John's will face in the first round is Northern Iowa. And that is one of the teams I had mentioned a higher seed to keep an eye on. So that'll be a fun matchup just off the bat. And the 4 seed continuing down the bracket is Kansas. Kansas is the 4 seed. And the 13 seed is Cal Baptist. They're in the tournament for the first time in their school's history, which is pretty awesome. Now going further down the bracket, we have the 6 seed Louisville. And they will play the 11 seed South Florida. They won today against Wichita State. That was a game I actually didn't get a chance to catch. I watched a lot of these, but not that one. The 3 seed is Michigan State. And we'll talk about them a little bit as well. And the 14 seed, North Dakota State. North Dakota State. That's an intriguing matchup. I haven't seen a lot of North Dakota State, but I'll mention later why I think that's interesting. Continuing down the bracket, we have the 7 seed UCLA, who made a deep run in the Big Ten tournament. They got to the semifinals. And the 10 seed is UCF. UCF was pretty much a lock to make the tournament, but for much of the month of February and even to the beginning of March, they were a bubble team. If you're just joining, we're in the East region. at the bottom of the bracket. And UConn, it looks like, is the number 2 seed in this region. Yep, UConn. And UConn will be playing the 15 seed. That is Furman. Furman has been to the tournament in recent memory. So, going down the bracket from the top to the bottom, we'll get a commercial break, and then I'll break this down just to a surface level, and later on I'll talk about which matchups I like, which upsets I'm looking at potentially, and which games I'm most looking forward to in this group. So in the East region, we have the 1 seed Duke taking on the 16 seed Siena. Then we have the 8 seed Ohio State taking on the 9 seed TCU. The 5 seed St. John's taking on the 12 seed Northern Iowa. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll respond to them as they come in. The 4 seed Kansas taking on the 13 seed Cal Baptist. The 6 seed Louisville taking on the 11 seed South Florida. The 3 seed Michigan State taking on the 14 seed North Dakota State. 7 seed UCLA taking on the 10 seed UCF. And finally, the 2 seed UConn taking on the 15 seed Furman. So just looking at a surface level here at matchups, we have Ohio State and TCU. That's the 8-9 game. 8-9 games are always pretty evenly matched. I think that's a fun one to look at. St. John's and Northern Iowa, that one has some intrigue to it too. Not going to answer where I'm from just for privacy reasons. So Ohio State and so St. John's and Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is a hot team coming in off winning 4 straight games in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament there. Louisville and South Florida, that's also an interesting matchup. Haven't seen a lot of either team this season, but I think that'll be an intriguing game as well. Michigan State, North Dakota State, I have my eye on this one for a potential upset. If Michigan State does get out of this round, I think they might get picked off in the second round by either Louisville or South Florida. I think Michigan State is a team that I like the grit that they play with, but they don't have the same level of talent as some of these other top tier teams. So I think Michigan State is a team that could definitely get picked off in the round of 64, or if they make it past that, the round of 32. And I know that Tom Izzo's teams haven't lost in the round of 64 recently. So I'll probably go to a different upset pick in this region, but I would not at all be surprised if they go out in the second round. So looking at the matchups further down, we have UCLA and UCF. That's the 7-10 matchup. That one could be fun. I think UConn kind of got a hard region here in terms of their section of the bracket. Because taking on UCLA or UCF in the second round, Furman, I think they'll take care of Furman. Furman's a 15 seed. I assume they would win that one. But UCLA and UCF are 2 teams that are no joke. I mean, UCLA made a run to the Big Ten Conference semifinals, and UCF had a pretty solid season as well in the Big 12. Just looking over this region, initial thoughts on who I like. I like Duke, obviously, advancing. I like Ohio State over TCU. I think Ohio State, Bruce Thornton has just been on a tear lately. I think it'll be difficult for TCU to slow him down. St. John's and Northern Iowa. I like St. John's, although I think Northern Iowa could be a trendy pick for upsets. I like Kansas over Cal Baptist. Looking at Louisville, South Florida, I like Louisville there. Michigan State, North Dakota State. I'll take Michigan State there as well to win in the first round. And I think this is one of the tougher games to pick. I'll take UCLA over UCF and then UConn over Furman. So just off the top, not seeing any upsets that I really love in this region. And we're about to get back to the selection show to reveal another region. So our next region will be Arizona as the 1 seed. And again, if you want to follow along with the selection show, it is live on CBS right now. So Arizona is the 1 seed in this region, and they will be taking on, I would think, so this is the West region. I would think this might be a first 4 game. So it'll be one of 2 teams. Nope, they play LIU, Long Island University. And the 8 seed will be Villanova. Villanova is the 8 seed. And they will be taking on the 9 seed Utah State. That is a great matchup. And either of those teams could be tough for Arizona in the second round. I think Arizona will get to the Sweet 16, but that's not going to be an easy path for them. Because Villanova, even though they got picked off early in the Big East tournament, I think they're for real. And Utah State won their conference tournament. Moving on, we have the 5 seed Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is a team I'm very high on. I think their guard duo is really top notch. And we have High Point as their opponent. High Point, I think I picked them to pull an upset last year. That did not end up happening. Although I think they came closer, at least were ahead in the first half. But I think Wisconsin will take care of them. I'm very high on the Badgers. Arkansas is the 4 seed. And the 13 seed, and if you're just joining us, we're in the West region. 13 seed is Hawaii. That'll be a really good first round game. Really good first round game there. We already went over the East region, so now we're moving down the bracket. We got the 6 seed BYU. And BYU, obviously the Richie Saunders season-ending ACL injury, just terrible for them. But they still have AJ DeBonsa. And so Texas, NC State will be a first 4 matchup. Kind of surprised that NC State is in the first 4. I would think they would have been seated a little higher, maybe as a 10. And the 3 seed, Gonzaga. That's not surprising. I kind of thought they would be a 3 seed. Gonzaga, very strong season, and they'll play Kennesaw State in the first round. Kennesaw State, who I believe either pulled an upset or came very close to it a few years ago. And the 7 seed is Miami of Florida, not Miami of Ohio. 10 seed is Missouri. And that will be a very good matchup. Kind of surprised Missouri's at 10 and NC State is in the first 4. I would think those would have been flip-flopped. Purdue as the 2 seed. See, going into today, I was kind of thinking Purdue might be a team to pick an upset against in either the first or the second round, but they beat Michigan and changed my mind. And they will be playing the 15 seed Queens. So that finishes off the West region of the bracket. We went over the East region earlier. That was already released. I'll go back to that one real quick after we get through this. And again, if you're interested in watching along, the selection show is live on CBS, whatever channel that is for you. So looking at this bracket, you got Arizona and LIU. That's a 16 seed, so I don't think there's much to read into there. I absolutely love the matchup between Villanova and Utah State. I think that's just about the best matchup you could have as an 8-9. Both of those teams are quality. I almost wish they didn't have to play each other because I think both of them could be fun to see in the second round. Wisconsin and High Point, again, High Point I think is a team I might have picked last year or the year before as an upset pick, but Wisconsin is a team I feel very confident in. John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. I think it's, just a very good, Nick Boyd. Just a very good combination of guards. And then you go down. This is there's two games I really love, the 8-9 being one of them. The other one I really enjoy is Arkansas and Hawaii. I think this has the potential to be a great game. I would lean Arkansas here, but I would think about potentially taking this as an upset. And then BYU takes on the winner of the first 4 game between Texas and NC State. I'm going to get a quick drink of water, then I'll talk about what I think about that one. So BYU taking on Texas or NC State. This might be where I would go in terms of an upset. In this region, again, in the first region, I didn't really have an upset, but I will pick what my favorite upset pick is when I go back and go region by region to break down and analyze them. So we're looking at BYU taking on Texas or NC State. I think there's a potential BYU goes out there. AJ DeBonsa is just a phenomenal freshman, but I think BYU, the Richie Saunders injury is going to show up sooner or later. And I think it's either going to be in the first round or the second round, because if you go down, Gonzaga and Kennesaw State is the next game. And Gonzaga, Graham Ike is legitimately a phenomenal player. He's improved every year at Gonzaga. A lot of fun to watch. He can score inside. He can score from beyond the arc. I think Kennesaw State's going to have their hands full with Gonzaga there. And then going down the bracket further, we have the 7 seed Miami, Florida, not Ohio, taking on the 10 seed Missouri. This is an interesting matchup. I haven't seen a lot of Miami, Florida. Missouri is a team I have seen a decent amount of, led by Mark Mitchell. They also have T.O. Barrett at point guard. I think I would probably lean toward Miami just initially here, but I would definitely think twice before eliminating Missouri in the first round. And then we got Purdue and Queens. I think that one is pretty clear cut. Queens, I believe, is in their first ever NCAA tournament, or at least their first in a long time. And I think Purdue is going to be riding high on that momentum from winning the Big Ten championship. So I'm going to go quickly back to the East region in case you're joining a little later, just to recap what we have there. Again, like I mentioned, I don't have any games that I'm really, excited about in terms of upsets in the East region. So going down, we have Duke, the 1 seed, Siena, the 16 seed in the East region. Ohio State and TCU is the 8-9 matchup. Ohio State's the 8, TCU is the 9. St. John's Northern Iowa has the potential to be a really intriguing matchup. St. John's is a 5 seed, Northern Iowa's a 12. And Kansas Cal Baptist, you never know here because Kansas is a good team, but they are really led by Darren Peterson, and some of their supporting cast has struggled at times this year, so you never know with that one. Louisville and South Florida. Louisville's the 6, South Florida's the 11 in the East region. And then Michigan State, North Dakota State, that's the 3-14. And we're back. We're going to get to a new region. 7-10 is UCLA, UCF. 2-15 is UConn Furman in the East. So that was a quick recap of that. And again, if you're interested in getting more analysis, stay on until later, because I'll be breaking down every region and then doing Final Four picks as well later on. So we are in the Midwest region. Midwest region, and Michigan is your number 1 seed in this region. Michigan. And they will be playing the winner of UMBC and Howard. UMBC or Howard. That'll be a first 4 game. And going down the bracket, wow, that came up quick. We have Georgia as the 8 seed. And they'll be taking on St. Louis, who's the 9 seed. And again, if you have any questions at any point, if you want to ask me about like a specific team, feel free to drop them in the chat. And as soon as we get a commercial break, I'll answer your question. So the 8-9 is Georgia and St. Louis. And now we're moving down to the 5-12 matchup. Texas Tech is the 5. Again, horrible season-ending injury for them, just like BYU. That was to JT Toppin. And they will be playing Akron. And Akron is a team, I don't think I had a lot of time to go into them off the top, but they've won 3 straight conference championship games. And they're a team I would definitely look at for an upset, especially with JT Toppin being out for Texas Tech. Alabama is the 4 seed. And the 13 seed, the team they will be playing is Hofstra. Hofstra, 13 seed in the Midwest region. And moving on down the bracket, we have bottom half of the bracket, 6 seed, Tennessee. 6 seed is Tennessee. The 11 seed is Miami of Ohio or SMU. And that is a first 4 matchup. The 3 seed and now we're in the Midwest region. We're at the 3-14 matchup, which is the bottom half of the bracket. 3 seed is Virginia. And the 14 seed, Virginia's opponent. And there's still been some good teams that I haven't seen seeded. Wright State. I did catch a little bit of their game. I don't think they'll pose a threat to Virginia, but you never know. 7 seed is Kentucky. And 10 seed is Santa Clara. Ooh, that is a tough draw for Kentucky in the first round. Santa Clara is not going to be an easy team to beat. I might even pick Santa Clara to win that game. I'll definitely think about it. And Iowa State is the 2 seed. This is another team I'm very high on. Although they have had some games this season where they've been a little cold shooting the ball. But wow, this is a tough draw for them. Tennessee State. Tennessee State is the 15 seed. So looking at this bracket in its entirety, And again, if you're just joining, I started with the East region, which was the first region that was revealed. Then we went to the West region. If you have any questions about either of those two regions or this Midwest region, now is a great time because we're about to hit a commercial break here. But I'm going to go through the Midwest region next if there's no questions. Michigan takes on UMBC or Howard. Michigan is a very quality team. They lost to Purdue today. That doesn't really impact my opinion of them. I think they take care of that easily. I'm just going to write them in there. So, Georgia playing St. Louis. This is an absolutely phenomenal game. Again, these 8-9 matchups, just awesome. We had a great one in the West region. Now we have a great one in the Midwest region. So I'm very excited for Georgia St. Louis. I think St. Louis has a legitimate opportunity to pull off the win there. Georgia is no slump, but neither is St. Louis. And then Texas Tech Akron. This is my favorite upset pick so far of the entire bracket that we've looked at. And I don't think they're going to go to a new region now. I'm just giving it a second to see. No, we're going to a commercial break. Texas Tech Akron is a game. Akron's made 3 straight NCAA tournaments. This is my favorite upset pick on the entire bracket so far because JT Toppin is out with a season-ending injury for Akron. So I am taking Akron to win that game. I don't feel super confident about it because they still have other quality players, but Akron is a quality team that's made the tournament 3 years in a row. So I feel confident about that, confident enough, I would say. And then Alabama is the 4 seed. They're taking on Hofstra, who's the 13 seed. I don't think there's anything to write home about. I haven't seen Hofstra as much as maybe some other people have. But I would take Alabama to win that. And then Tennessee plays the winner of Miami, Ohio, and SMU. That's just, I think Miami of Ohio will win that game against SMU. That is a tough draw for Tennessee. This is another situation where, provided Miami, Ohio wins that game, I would think about definitely taking them over Tennessee in that first round game. And then moving on down the bracket, we have Virginia and Wright State. I did catch Wright State, their championship game. But I wouldn't read too much into that game. I think Virginia, even though I didn't write them down and mention them earlier, Virginia is a team I'm very high on. I think they could definitely make a run and surprise some people. They got to the ACC championship game for a reason and really pushed Duke. So I think Virginia is going to take that one. And I'm going to write some of these in now so that when I'm going through later, what I'll do later is I'll pick my top 3 games from each region, my favorite upset from each region, and then from there, I'll go and basically say who I think is going to win in every round. And again, these are my initial thoughts, so I will have my final bracket up. That will be in a community post as a picture. But these are my original thoughts, just off the top. So I'll be doing analysis of the entire bracket after we get the last region revealed. And this matchup, this 7-10 matchup, is just going to be awesome. You have Kentucky and you have Santa Clara. I think I would lean Santa Clara here. I've seen both teams play. I think Kentucky's a quality team, but I think Santa Clara should not be overlooked. They played a phenomenal game against St. Mary's, won that one. They can knock down a lot of threes. Their defense is good. So I think if you're looking at upsets, this is the region for it, at least so far. And then Iowa State, I think, will take care of they'll take care of Tennessee State. So I'm going to put in Santa Clara in my bracket here. So Florida, no surprise, the final number 1 seed. We were expecting that. UConn kind of fell off in that championship game, and they were the main competition for Florida. So Florida, the 4th number 1 seed, exactly where they were last year when they made a run and went all the way. So Florida fans, you're in a similar situation. Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M and Lehigh, that's the 16 seed that Florida will face. Wow, we're going fast now. Clemson as the 8 seed and Iowa's the 9 seed. I think Iowa's an interesting team. I wouldn't expect either of those two teams to upset Florida in the round of 32, but I think either one could really go off in the first round, especially. We got Vanderbilt and McNeese. That's a tough draw for Vanderbilt. McNeese was one of the teams I was high on going into this tournament because they made it last year and won a game. I think they were also at 12 last year. So the 4 seed is Nebraska, and we'll see who they face. They are playing the 13 seed. And the 13 seed is Troy. So Troy will play Nebraska. Troy, I don't think I've seen play this year. I have seen Nebraska play. They're obviously a quality team if they're a 4 seed. North Carolina, that's UNC, is the 6. And they will play probably, I think we actually got all of our first 4 matchups out of the way. VCU. Ooh, that's a very tough draw for North Carolina. Caleb Wilson out for the season. That's probably going to be my favorite upset pick. That's a little bit of a spoiler. But we are moving to the 3-14. The 3 seed is going to be Illinois. Illinois. This is kind of a stacked region. This is the South region. I think I forgot to say that, but we're in the South region and they play Penn, which is a team I watched today have a fantastic performance against Yale in their conference championship game. Especially TJ Power went for 44. So St. Mary's is the 7. It's about where most people expected they would be. Texas A&M is the 10. St. Mary's definitely could win that game. But that's going to be one that I think about a little bit. Houston is the 2 seed, led by Kingston Flemings, the freshman. And they will be playing the 15 seed, and that will be Idaho. So Idaho is the last team to get announced, but they do make it. They won their conference tournament. All right. So just a recap of the bracket, then I'll close out of the selection show and we'll go into some deep level analysis of each region and who I think is going to win. So we have Florida, the 1 seed in the South region. They'll be taking on the winner of Prairie View A&M and Lehigh. That's a first 4 matchup. Then we have the 8 seed Clemson taking on the 9 seed Iowa. The 5 seed Vanderbilt taking on the 12 seed McNeese. 4 seed Nebraska taking on the 13 seed Troy. And in one of my favorite matchups of the region, we have North Carolina, the 6 seed, taking on the 11 seed VCU. The 3 seed Illinois takes on the 14 seed Penn. That's another fun one. Illinois is a team that has has struggled to play defense at times this year. So you definitely don't want to struggle to play defense against a team like Penn with TJ Power. And St. Mary's takes on Texas A&M. That's the 7 seed St. Mary's, 10 seed Texas A&M. And finally, rounding it out, we have the 2 seed Houston playing the 15 seed Idaho. So what I'm going to do here, first I'll ask if there's any questions. I'm going to close out of this selection show that I have on my computer because we're all done with it. We're all done with that. So I'll open up the floor for any questions, any teams that you have interest in hearing my thoughts on. But I'm going to go back to the East region to do analysis and picks. These are my initial thoughts, not my final thoughts, but I think it's always fun to kind of go through and pick who I think is going to win each game. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to pick my 3 favorite games in each region. And I'm going to go region by region. So I'm going to start with the East. We'll do the entirety of the East. I'll pick a team to come out and win that region. And then from there, we will go on to the West region and so on. So we're going to go in the same order that the bracket was released. So Duke and Siena. Siena, definitely a quality team, but they got a tough draw against Duke. I have Duke winning that game. Ohio State and TCU. I talked about this when we were in the region. Haven't seen a ton of TCU. They did push Kansas, who is also in this region, evidently. But I like Ohio State in that game. And before I move on, I'm going to pick my 3 favorite games. Favorite game, UCLA, UCF. Honestly, that's probably my favorite game. Then looking at other matchups, I like Ohio State and TCU. It's probably my second favorite game in this region. And if you're interested in watching these games, definitely tune in because, I mean, March Madness is awesome. You always get great moments. The 5-12 game, St. John's and Northern Iowa, that is my third favorite game in the region. So recapping the top of the bracket, I took Duke to advance and I took Ohio State. I'm going to keep going down the list here. So the 5 seed St. John's, I'm very high on St. John's. I think they could make a run to at least the Sweet 16. We'll see how far I ultimately have them going. But St. John's I have advancing to the round of 32. And then I also have Kansas beating Cal Baptist. And yeah, favorite upset pick. I'm going to say I'm not picking any upsets in this region. I want to preface it by saying that. My favorite upset pick would, that's tough. I probably would go South Florida over Louisville, but I'm not going to pick South Florida to win that. So if you're looking for an upset in this region, maybe Northern Iowa, maybe South Florida, but ultimately I think there's going to be no upsets in the first round, at least here. So I'll have Louisville advancing. And what I will say is this. I think Michigan State does get out of the first round. After having some time to think about that, I think they take care of North Dakota State. But that being said, I think the winner of Louisville and Florida takes them out in the next round, and we'll get to that when we go through the round of 32 in this region. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in, and I'll take a break from what I'm doing and answer them. 7 seed UCLA taking on UCF. I like UCLA. They looked good in the Big Ten championship. They've had a strong season. So I like UCLA there. I like UConn over Furman. That'll be a fun matchup, UCLA and UConn in the second round. So now we have Duke and Ohio State going back to the top of the bracket. I like Duke there. Ohio State I really think they could give Duke a run, but I don't think they're going to end up beating Duke. So I will take Duke to advance there. St. John's and Kansas. I think Kansas is the type of team where if they face a team like St. John's, it's just going to be too much for them. St. John's is an excellent defensive team. I think St. John's takes care of Kansas. And going down the bracket, I already said I'm going to take Louisville over Michigan State, so I'll stick with that. If South Florida makes it out and pulls off an upset, I think they have a great chance to also beat Michigan State, but I'm not predicting that. Oh, man, this is the tough one for me. UCLA and UConn. Because I think either of these teams could beat Louisville, in all honesty. I'm going to take UConn here, but I could definitely see it going the other way. So then moving on to, this will be the Sweet 16. We have Duke taking on St. John's, and this would be an excellent matchup. If we got Duke St. John's in the Sweet 16 of the East region, you can't ask for a much better matchup than that. That being said, I really have to think about Duke getting eliminated here. Ultimately, I think Duke takes care of St. John's, but when I look at my official bracket, I'll think a little more about that. Duke, and I'll take UConn. That's going to be a fun matchup, Duke versus UConn. And my Final Four pick from this region is Duke. I think Duke just has such a talented team this year. They made the Final Four last year and got eliminated in that round. So to recap the region quickly, I got Duke advancing, I got Ohio State advancing, St. John's, Kansas, Louisville, Michigan State, UCLA, and UConn. That's my full round of 64 predictions. Then I have Duke and St. John's making it to the Sweet 16, and I have Louisville and UConn making it to the Sweet 16. Then I have Duke making it to the Elite Eight, UConn making it to the Elite Eight, and I'm taking Duke to win the region. And once I'm done with each region, what I'll do is I'll go back, talk about the Final Four matchups, and I actually want to pull up the bracket here real quick, just so that I have it, so that I can figure out which teams are actually playing each other in the Final Four, because sometimes they go out of order here. So let's go March Madness D1 men's basketball. Let's click on this, just take a look at the bracket. Let's see, official bracket. There it is. Okay, awesome. So if you're just joining, just got through breaking down the East region. If you're interested in looking at that, you can go back and take a look at that in a little while or later. You can take a look at it anytime between now and when the brackets lock. So now moving on to the West region. You got Arizona and LIU. You got Villanova, Utah State, and that's going to be my favorite game. Picking my three favorite games, Utah State and Villanova is just a phenomenal matchup. We got Wisconsin and High Point. I like that matchup. But I'm not going to select that as a top three yet. Arkansas, Hawaii, for me, that's the top three. And then BYU, that's my upset pick. I really think BYU is a quality team, but I think either Texas or NC State will take care of them in the opening round. Gonzaga and Kennesaw State. Gonzaga's not much to say there. Gonzaga's a good team. Miami and Missouri, that's going to be my third favorite game. 7-10 matchup. Those are always fun. And then finally, you got Purdue and Queens as the 2-15. So I'm going to go through and pick my teams to advance to the round of 32. Give me Arizona over LIU. And I'll take Utah State. I feel better about them than I do about Villanova, and that's no No disrespect to Villanova. I just feel like Utah State's a little bit hotter of a team coming in having won the Mountain West. I feel really good about them in that matchup. Wisconsin High Point. This is one I think a lot of people will overthink. I'm just going to take Wisconsin here. Again, I'm very high on the Badgers. I think they got a really tough draw. Chances are I'll have them losing to Arkansas in the second round. So I'll take Arkansas. And then give me the winner of Texas and NC State. That's my upset pick, and I am actually going to take that one. So that will be the 11 seed advancing. And then give me Gonzaga over Kennesaw State. So then going down the bracket, I think this is a tough one because Missouri's a quality 10 seed. Miami's a quality 7 seed. I think both could maybe be a seed line high. Excuse me. But looking at this, I like, man, this is a hard one. I'm gonna take Miami here. I thought about taking Missouri, and I'll definitely think about that again when I'm making my final bracket. So I'm taking Miami, Florida here, and give me Purdue over Queens. Yeah, I might. That's going to be a tough matchup for Purdue. We'll see if I decide to pick them once we get down to that. So we are on to the Sweet 16. You got Arizona versus Utah State. That's going to be a really tough matchup for Arizona. I will have them advancing. Wisconsin and Arkansas is just going to be an absolute must-watch game. You got like three of the best guards in all of college basketball: Darius Acuff, John Blackwell, and Nick Boyd. So that's going to be a really, really fun game. Oh, man. Give me Arkansas. I think I really like all three guards. I think Darius Acuff might be the best player on either team in that specific matchup. So I think Darius Acuff carries Arkansas to a win over Wisconsin. And if you're just joining where I'm analyzing the West region, you can go look back at the East region whenever you want to. I'll get back to that with my final four picks later. I did take Duke to win that region. And if you have any questions, let me know. So Gonzaga is taking on the winner of Texas NC State. I'll take Gonzaga. Give me Gonzaga. And this is a tough one. I'll take Purdue. I'll take Purdue. I'm feeling better about them after their win over Michigan today. That really did a lot for me in terms of believing in Purdue. But I think that might be the furthest they get. That's a spoiler. But that's what I'm thinking. Arizona and Arkansas. Oh man, that is a really good matchup. And I think I might have to take Arkansas here. Oh man. Yeah, I might take Arkansas over Arizona. That might be one of the crazier picks I've done so far if I do it. I think give me Arkansas there. I think Acuff's run continues to the Elite Eight. And going to the bottom of the bracket, that Sweet 16 matchup, Gonzaga and Purdue. I think Gonzaga is just on a roll right now. I'll take Gonzaga to win that. And Gonzaga and Arkansas, wow. I mean, I was high on Arkansas. I did not think I'd have them going to the Final Four, but here we are. I have Arkansas as the Final Four pick from the West region. Final four pick is Arkansas, and they are a 4 seed. Again, just going to be a really tough matchup for Arizona. If they are able to get through them, they, I think, would make the Final Four. I really like Gonzaga. I have them going to the Elite Eight and losing. So, looking forward, we're moving to the third region that was revealed, and that is the Midwest region. The Midwest region features some awesome matchups. I'm going to pick my 3 favorite games. I'm going to put Georgia and St. Louis. That's got to be number 1 for me. That's the 8-9 matchup. That's going to be a must-watch game. Robbie Avila and all the awesome players that Georgia has. It's going to be just a must-watch game. And then my second favorite game in this Midwest region has got to be Kentucky and Santa Clara. I mean, for Kentucky, man, you got a tough first round matchup. You got a tough one there. Yeah, that's tough. Getting Santa Clara in the first round. And then my third favorite game. Give me, even though I picked an upset in a different game, I might have 3 upsets in this region in the first round. That would be kind of wild. Give me Tennessee, and I think Miami, Ohio will be their opponent. If they are not, I think Tennessee easily beats SMU. Maybe not easily. I mean, it'll still be a really good game. And upset pick is Akron over Texas Tech. And that is a 12 over a 5. No JT Toppin. I think Texas Tech's a really good team, but Akron has won their conference 3 years in a row. They are no joke. So looking at this, and that is not how that works. I just connected 2 parts of the bracket that don't connect. So give me St. Louis to advance. I took Michigan to advance over the winner of UMBC and Howard. Don't think that's a hot take. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. Give me Alabama over Hofstra. And I took Akron over Texas Tech. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in the chat at any time. And I'll address those as they come up. Oh man, I'm gonna take Tennessee's a really good team. I just think Miami, Ohio will win a game other than the first 4. And I think they beat SMU in the first 4, and then I think they take care of Tennessee as well. So I have Miami, Ohio, and I have Virginia beating Wright State. And then the last 2 games, I have Kentucky, Santa Clara. I said it earlier. Kentucky just got a really tough draw here. And then, so I have Santa Clara advancing. That's what that means. I have Santa Clara winning their first round game. I have Iowa State advancing over Tennessee State. And that'll take us back to the top of the bracket. And we're going through, at this point, the round of 32 in the Midwest region. So I'll take Michigan over St. Louis. I think St. Louis is a really good team, but I don't think they're Michigan caliber. And then give me Alabama over Akron. I think Akron's a quality team. Alabama just puts up points in a hurry. I think Akron will go down big early, come back, but they won't have quite enough to pull that one off. And going down the bracket further, give me... Oh, yeah, that's actually kind of hard. I like Virginia a lot. I think they take care of Miami of Ohio. So I'll have them advancing. And Santa Clara, Iowa State. Give me Iowa State there. So I had 3 first-round upsets, and now no one gets to the Sweet 16. So I guess that's how it is in the Midwest. So we got, in the Sweet 16, Michigan and Alabama. Alabama, very quality team. I think Michigan's going to be really hard for anyone to beat. I have them advancing. And then, oh man, give me Virginia. I think Virginia takes care of Iowa State. Virginia takes care of Iowa State. And then that makes our Elite Eight matchup, Michigan and Virginia. I'll take to the Final Four. I will take the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan is that team. Michigan, Duke, Arizona, all very quality teams. And Florida, too. And that takes us to the South region. I'm going to get a quick drink of water, and then we'll start on this region, breaking it all down. So, South region is a fun one. Midwest and South might be my favorite two regions. Yeah, I had a bunch of upsets in the Midwest, but looking at the South, we got Florida, and I'll take them to advance over Prairie View or Lehigh. I won't think too much about that one. Clemson and Iowa. I feel like Iowa might be a little underrated. Clemson might be a little overrated. Give me Iowa in that one. And then we got Vanderbilt and McNeese. That is a fun game. Nebraska, Troy. Oh, Vanderbilt and McNeese. This is hard. This is really hard for me because I like both of these teams a lot. I'm going to take Vanderbilt. And I just realized I forgot to pick my favorite three games in this region. Let's see. Top game. Oh, man. I think Vanderbilt McNeese might be my favorite game. This has so many good matchups. You got St. Mary's and Texas A&M, Illinois and Penn, VCU and North Carolina. There's just matchups up and down this bracket. I think Iowa might beat Clemson by like 10, so I won't put that one as one of my top three. Give me St. Mary's and Texas A&M, and give me North Carolina and VCU. So I went 5-12, 6-11, 7-10. Those are my three favorite games from this South region. So we got Florida and Iowa advancing, Vanderbilt advancing. Give me Nebraska. Nebraska will win a game. Will they win two? I'll leave you in suspense. I'll leave you in suspense there, but we'll get to it in like a minute or two here. So we got North Carolina and VCU. I think the Caleb Wilson injury is just too much. That's also my upset pick, in addition to being one of my favorite three games. I think this is probably the upset I'm most confident about out of any of them. I just think VCU's on a tear. I mean, I watched that conference championship game today, and sure, Dayton missed their fair share of free throws. But I think VCU, having won 15 of 16 coming into this game, North Carolina having a major player out of their lineup for the rest of the season, that's going to be too much. And I think give me VCU. Oh, man. This next one is tough, too. I'm going to take Illinois. I really like Penn. I just think Illinois is going to have too much offense for them. And if TJ Power he might have to have 30 again for them to have a chance in that game. St. Mary's and Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a team I feel like doesn't really have a quality win, and I think that shows up here. Give me St. Mary's advancing to the round of 32. And that brings us to our final game, Houston and Idaho. Give me Houston. Houston will win that game. So going up, this is really an intriguing matchup because Iowa is a quality team. I'm not going to have them taking down Florida, but I really thought about it. I really did. So give me Florida here. Florida is the number one seed in the region. Vanderbilt, Nebraska. That'll be a fun game. I just think Vanderbilt, I mean, yeah, they ran through the SEC tournament, almost won, lost to Arkansas. And more on them later. I'm not going to spoil anything from earlier. If you want to see how far I had them going, you can watch that region in the next day or two. So, and if you are enjoying this, please consider liking and subscribing. I haven't said that yet, but it really helps out the channel, and it's super easy to do. So I have Vanderbilt beating Nebraska. So that sets up a Sweet 16 matchup with Florida. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in as well. VCU and Illinois. I really like Illinois, but I like VCU a little more. I think Illinois is just the type of team that has trouble playing defense sometimes, and I think going up against a very balanced team in VCU that has Lazar Djokovic, who's a bona fide first-team all-conference player, I think this is just too much for VCU. I think VCU gets a ton of contributions from different players, and I think they take care of Illinois. St. Mary's, that's just a tough draw, getting Houston in the second round. I like St. Mary's a lot, but I think Houston's just too quality of a team there. And so we got an all-SEC matchup in the Sweet 16 here. Florida and Vanderbilt. I haven't looked to see who has the lead in the season series. I think Vanderbilt can very well pull this one off. Florida has the better front court. They have the better center forward play. Vanderbilt definitely wins the guard battle. I think Vanderbilt knocks down a bunch of threes here, and I think they end Florida's quest for 2 straight national championships. Vanderbilt takes care of Florida in the Sweet 16. That would be something, wouldn't it? And 2 seed is Houston. I think the 2 seed Houston takes care of VCU. VCU making a run to the Sweet 16, that's a big deal for them. But I think unless St. Mary's knocks off Houston, I think VCU, there's just too much talent on the Houston team. Their 3 guards, Emmanuel Sharp, Kingston Flemings, and Milo Zuzan, they just are too much. They take over that game late and knock off VCU. So that sets up a matchup between Vanderbilt and Houston. This is such a good matchup. Would love to see this materialize. Florida, Houston would also be awesome. But this one's a great matchup. Ultimately, I think Houston takes this one. So my Final Four pick is Houston. They are the number 2 seed in the region, and with Florida eliminated, I have them advancing to the Final Four. So East plays the South. So setting up the Final Four, this will take me a minute to do. Not even a minute, probably. I'm just going to set up our Final Four. So we have the East region playing the South. So East, South, and that is that. East and the South, and then on the other side, you have the Midwest playing, I would guess, the West. Yeah, West and Midwest. So, West, Midwest. So, let's see. So, we're going to go back to the top of the bracket. And if you want to see me break down each region, I've gone through all 4 of them at this point, but you can still go back and watch this later if you're interested in seeing my initial thoughts. I will have a final bracket up sometime later this week. It'll be a written bracket. So from the East region, I have Duke. They're the 1 seed in that region. And the South region is Houston. Oh, look at that. You get a matchup of last year's Final Four teams, Duke and Houston. And that'll be a really fun game. Then you got the West and the Midwest. So I know who I have from the Midwest, Arkansas and Michigan. So Arkansas is out of the West. Arkansas is from the West, and the Midwest, you get another 1 seed. You get Michigan. So we'll make this national championship. National championship. Yeah, you're a little late. So I started at 5:55 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in watching this back later, feel free to. Basically, what I did is every region I went through and talked about. I basically laid out every matchup, and then I went back and analyzed each region. So now we are on the Final Four. And I have Duke coming out of the East, playing Houston coming out of the South. Arkansas, which is kind of a surprise. Didn't think I would have them going to the Final Four from the West, playing Michigan from the Midwest. And again, I broke down every region. There will be timestamps probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Tuesday. I don't think I'll be streaming other games just because I have kind of a busy week this week. I might have time to put out shorts, but I'm not entirely sure. I will have the final bracket up as a community post. Took me a second there. I will. Most of my analysis that I do is going to be here, but I'm definitely thinking about doing some shorts as well. So. National championship. So we got our first Final Four matchup. And I don't know if this is what would actually happen chronologically. But we have Duke and Houston. I like Duke. I think it goes differently than it did last year. I like Duke winning that one. I think Duke is just such a good team this year. They have so much talent up and down the roster. And thanks for the comments, Gaming Monster. Appreciate it. And I'll keep the community. Yeah, Duke was in the Final Four, and actually we had the same exact matchup last year. So we had Duke playing Houston in the Final Four last year, and that's what I got this year in this prediction as well. But I have Duke winning instead of Houston. Houston took it last year. And then I have Arkansas and Michigan. I'll take Michigan. I think Arkansas is a very good team. I just think Michigan's on a different level this year. And to that effect, my national champion, and this is a rematch of a game we actually got not too long ago between Duke and Michigan. And the winner of that game will be the national champion. That's 2 1 seeds. I have Michigan as the national champion. So that is my pick. And I'm going to go quickly back through each region and who I picked to advance to the round of 32, Sweet 16. Yeah, Duke could definitely win it all. They are a legitimate national championship contender. I have Michigan, but I could easily see that being Duke, and I might pick Duke in my official bracket. Who knows? So I'm going to go back to the East. I'll do a quick recap of each region. Yeah, we could definitely see Michigan. So Duke, Siena, I have Duke winning that. I have Ohio State beating TCU, so that sets up Duke, Ohio State in the round of 32. St. John's, the 5 seed, beating Northern Iowa, the 12. I have Kansas, the 4 seed, beating Cal Baptist, the 13. Kansas, again, maybe an upset there. I don't see it, but there's a potential. I think Cal Baptist might be in their first ever tournament, though. So I have Kansas advancing there. I don't have any upsets in this East region, but if I was to pick one, it would be South Florida over Louisville. I have Louisville winning and moving on to the round of 32. I have Michigan State, the 3 seed, beating the 14 seed. No, Cal did not make the bracket. Yeah, Cal. I didn't stay on to watch to see who the first 4 teams left out of the tournament were, but I would not be surprised if Cal was one of those teams that was left out and they were one of the first 4 out. So Louisville, Michigan State, UCLA and UCF should be a phenomenal game. That's in the East region. It's the 7-10. I have UCLA winning, and I have UConn beating Furman. So then in the round of 32, I have Duke beating Ohio State. I have St. John's knocking off Kansas. If you caught my earlier conversation about Kansas, and the fact that I think Darren Peterson kind of carries that team sometimes. I think St. John's is just too much. I think they'll shut down basically everyone but Darren Peterson, maybe even force him to have a hard game. So they win that. I'm not super high on Michigan State. I think they're a gritty team, but they just lack the talent of a team like a Louisville. So I think I have Louisville upsetting Michigan State to advance to the Sweet 16. And I had a really hard time on UCLA and UConn. Yeah, UCLA. Are you going to UCLA, UCF? Wow, took me a minute there. Yeah, UCLA is going to be a fun team to watch for sure. I talked about them a little bit earlier. They just had a great run in the tournament. In the Big Ten tournament, rather. So I have UCLA playing UConn. That's just going to be a phenomenal game. But ultimately, I had a very hard time, went with UConn. So then our Sweet 16 matchups, we have Duke and St. John's. This is another one that I honestly thought about for a while because I'm just very high on St. John's. Duke's kind of a young team. But ultimately, I took Duke in that game. And then going down the bracket, we have Louisville and UConn. I didn't think too much about that. I thought either UCLA or UConn could beat Louisville. I thought either of those were very possible outcomes. So that left basically a chalk matchup. Yeah, Duke is. I think they have like 3 freshmen as their top 7 scorers. So they always seem to be a young team, but especially this year. So then you have Duke and UConn, and I took Duke to the Final Four. And then the West region, I had Arizona over LIU. That's the 1 seed Arizona advancing. A game I really just think is going to be fantastic is Villanova and Utah State. I took Utah State just because I feel like they have a little more momentum right now. They're the 9 seed, so I had them advancing to the round of 32. And then you have Wisconsin and High Point. I mentioned this one because I think this one could be a trendy upset pick, but this is one I would stay away from because I think Wisconsin is a really good team that a lot of people might overlook. So I have Wisconsin winning and moving to the round of 32. Arkansas and Hawaii has the potential to be a really, really good game as well. Hawaii is a really quality team. I watched their championship game. Yeah, Wisconsin's just a fun team to watch. They have Blackwell and they have Nick Boyd, and they're going to be a really tough out. So I have Arkansas playing them. And then my upset pick in the West region, and I actually did take this one, BYU is without Richie Saunders for the rest of the season. Texas and NC State, I think the winner of that knocks off BYU. So that was my upset pick. And then I had Gonzaga over Kennesaw State, Gonzaga advancing there. I took a while on Miami, Florida, and Missouri. That I think will be a fun 7-10 matchup. But I did end up taking Miami, Florida, and then I have them playing the 2 seed Purdue Boilermakers in the round of 32. So in the round of 32, I took Arizona over Utah State. I, again, really, Richie Saunders is done for the season, unfortunately. Really fun player to watch. But yeah, so that sucks. But DeBonsa will have to carry the scoring load for BYU. I just think whether it's the first round or the second round, I think they probably go out early. I had a really hard time on Wisconsin and Arkansas. I ultimately landed on Arkansas because even though Blackwell and Boyd are such strong guards, I just think Acuff might go to a different level in that game. So I took Arkansas to advance there. And then I took Gonzaga to beat the team that beats BYU, which will be either Texas or NC State. So I have Gonzaga there, and then I had Purdue beating Miami. I feel more confident about Purdue after they beat Michigan today, but that's as far as I have them going. So I have Arkansas upsetting Arizona. Again, that's another one that I think will be very close. And then ultimately, I have Gonzaga beating Purdue. I think Gonzaga's they've been on a tear lately. Graham Ike is a phenomenal player, and they have some other guys who can really shoot the ball and finish at the rim as well. So my final 4 pick was Arkansas. I have them beating Gonzaga. I mean, if they get through Arizona, I think there's no reason they can't beat Gonzaga. And then moving on to the Midwest region, I have Michigan playing the winner of UMBC or Howard. That I have Michigan taking that easily. This is a really fun game. The 8-seed Georgia playing the 9-seed St. Louis. I have St. Louis winning this. I watched their game against, Dayton. And that was just such a fun finish to that game. I think Robbie Avila will go off. Ishan Sharma might hit a few threes too, and I think they take out Georgia in a bit of a surprise first round win. My upset pick, and this is another one that I'm going on based on an injury that happened. I have 12 seed Akron taking out 5 seed Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech looked really good in the first few games when they played without JT Toppin, but since then they've kind of fallen off a bit. They still have a really good guard, Christian Anderson. That's his name. He's phenomenal, but I think ultimately Akron, they've made 3 straight tournaments. I think this is the time they win, and I think they go to the round of 32. I don't know a lot about Hofstra, so I took Alabama over them, and I feel pretty confident about that pick. But I don't know a ton about Hofstra, so I just know that Alabama is really good. As an Auburn fan, we lost to them twice, and they've really had a lot of very high scoring games in the SEC this year. And then this was one that I kind of went off of who I thought would win the first 4 game. So the first 4 game is Miami of Ohio or SMU, and they play the 6 seed Tennessee. I have Miami of Ohio pulling off an upset here, and I think Tennessee is a very quality team. I think Miami of Ohio will just be a tough matchup for them. That's basically the best 11 seed you're probably ever going to see. So I have Miami of Ohio winning that one, and then I have Virginia taking care of Wright State. Not a lot to say on that one. But one game I do have to say something about is Santa Clara and Kentucky. Santa Clara, just a phenomenal team. They beat St. Mary's, and then they gave Gonzaga quite a run. I think Santa Clara upsets Kentucky there. It's not going to be easy, but I think they can definitely do it. Yeah, definitely a really good 11 seed. I think a lot of us could have seen Miami of Ohio as getting in as maybe a 10. And the 2 seed is Iowa State. They'll play Santa Clara in the round of 32. So then in the Midwest round of 32, we have Michigan and St. Louis. Should be a really fun game, but honestly, I don't think St. Louis is on Michigan's level. Michigan advances there. Alabama and Akron. I think Akron, great run, great win in the first round, but I think Alabama takes care of them. And then we get Miami of Ohio and Virginia. I did think about this one for a little bit, but I am very high on Virginia. So I had Virginia advancing. I think Virginia or Miami of Ohio could be Iowa State. Iowa State's a very good team. I just have a feeling they might go cold at some point. And I think the next round is where it happens. So I do have Iowa State beating Santa Clara, although I could definitely see Santa Clara taking that game. Santa Clara, like I mentioned, a very quality 10 seed. So then we have Michigan and Alabama. I'm taking Michigan there. I think that'll be, again, just these 1-4 matchups have, if we get them, have the potential to just be absolute barn burners, just very high scoring, or if they're not high scoring, at least very close. I think Michigan takes care of Alabama. Maybe this is the situation where Alabama misses some threes. They take a lot of them. I think Michigan wins that one. And then you got Virginia and Iowa State. I think Iowa State definitely could win. They're not getting past Michigan for sure. Michigan's just too good of a team. But I did take Virginia to get to the Elite Eight. And again, I think if Miami of Ohio can go on a run, I think they could get to the Elite Eight too. It's not inconceivable. But my Final Four pick in the Midwest region is ultimately Michigan. And then the South region, which is our final region, that I'll quickly recap my Final Four picks. South region, I have the 1 seed Florida taking care of Prairie View or Lehigh. I don't think that'll be very hard. I think Clemson's a bit overrated. Iowa's maybe a bit underrated. I think maybe those should have been swapped in terms of seed lines. So I think the 9 seed Iowa takes care of 8 seed Clemson. Vanderbilt and McNeese. This was just such a hard one for me because coming in, I had McNeese as a potential team to pull an upset. And I'm very, very high on Vanderbilt. I think they've had a phenomenal year. I had to take Vanderbilt here. Iowa really is pretty good. They got Bennett Sturts. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Florida in the second round. We'll get back to that in a second. But Vanderbilt and McNeese is going to be, that's one of my 3 favorite games in this region. Ultimately did pick Vanderbilt to win. And then Nebraska-Troy, I didn't think too much about that. I think Nebraska's just had a really good season and it continues into the tournament. They get their first win in program history in the tournament, which is kind of crazy. I mean, we don't see a lot of Nebraska in the NCAA tournament, but you would have figured they would have won at some point. I also really like North Carolina and VCU. This is my upset pick, though, in the region. VCU has won 15 of 16. They're very balanced. Djokovic is just a phenomenal player. And UNC, Caleb Wilson is out for the season. So I have VCU taking this one. And then Illinois Penn, this is another game that I had a hard time with. And honestly, I wouldn't be at all surprised. This might be the only 14-3 matchup that I would pick an upset for. Yeah, North Carolina, I could definitely see them taking that one. I just think VCU, they're on a tear. And we'll get back to them in a little while. Because there's more where that came from. Illinois Penn, I had a really hard time with. I watched Penn today. TJ Power went for 44 in a win over Yale. But ultimately, I think Illinois is going to score a lot of points, and I think they come away with the win here. But that would be the one I would circle for a potential 14-3 upset, because Illinois has trouble playing defense. Yeah, it was 44 points. 40 in regulation and 4 in overtime. I didn't catch I didn't catch overtime, but regulation, he hit 2 threes back to back. I think Yale scored like maybe a free throw or two in between. Second three was with like a second left and it tied the game. And then the Yale guy almost hit a 3/4 court shot. But yeah, and they took care of them in overtime. Again, I didn't catch overtime, but good for Penn. They haven't gotten to the tournament since 2018. St. Mary's and Texas A&M, that's another really, really hard one to pick. But ultimately, maybe not as hard as, maybe not as hard as I thought. I think I was thinking of a previous Texas A&M team there. Texas A&M is a team that just really doesn't have many quality wins. St. Mary's beat Gonzaga earlier in the season, and they also beat Santa Clara. I think St. Mary's will take care of Texas A&M here, and I feel fairly confident in that. And then Houston, I have beating Idaho. Not much to say about that one. I think Houston takes care of them relatively easily. So then we have Florida and Iowa. I mentioned I think that's going to be a tough game for Florida, but I do think they get through that one. Vanderbilt and Nebraska. This is going to be a tough game for both teams. A lot of 5-4 matchups will be because they're so close in terms of skill level and just seeding, I guess. Like I said, I'm very high on Vanderbilt. I have Vanderbilt pulling off a win here over Nebraska. So unfortunately, Nebraska only goes one round deep. But hey, at least they got their win. Nebraska fans won't be too happy about that. But I think Vanderbilt takes care of Nebraska, and that sets up a matchup with Florida, which is an all-SEC Sweet 16 game. Going down the bracket, again, I said Illinois could be picked off by Penn. Ultimately, if North Carolina can get past VCU, I mean, I could see Nebraska taking that game, but I think I'm just very high on Vanderbilt. They've had a great season. I've been very impressed with them all year, really. VCU and Illinois, I think Illinois gets picked off here. If North Carolina wins, I'd take them also to beat Illinois. Illinois, okay. Yeah, thanks, Gaming Monster. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. And so I have VCU over Illinois here. And then St. Mary's, I'm taking over Houston. No, I'm not taking St. Mary's over Houston. Houston's a good team. Thanks. Houston, I have beating St. Mary's. So that sets up Florida, Vanderbilt, and this one I took a very long time to decide on. But ultimately I took Vanderbilt in the upset, which is kind of an insane pick. I just think if Vanderbilt, I mean, you beat McNeese, you beat Nebraska. Florida's going to be really tough, but Vanderbilt has seen them before. And I think Vanderbilt pulls a very insane upset here to end Florida's chances of repeating as national champions. And then VCU and Houston, I think the clock hits midnight on VCU's Cinderella run. Ultimately, Houston, I think all three guards will have a great game here. I think the defense will just be too much. VCU is a balanced team, but Houston is just, they're on a different level. And then in the Elite Eight, we get Vanderbilt and Houston. And then ultimately, I think Vanderbilt's run also ends with Houston. So I have Houston to the Final Four. And I'll recap the Final Four and national championship picks real quick. And then we'll be all done for the live stream. Thank you so much for joining and watching along. I appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this live stream, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot, and I really appreciate it. And I do a ton of community posts even when I'm not posting videos, so plenty of opportunities to interact with me and others on the channel. So I have Duke from the East taking on Houston from the South. I took Duke to the national championship game. Arkansas, from the West taking on Michigan from the Midwest. I took Michigan. So we have a matchup which I think a lot of people would pick. This isn't super surprising. You have Duke, you have Michigan. This is pretty much a coin flip for me. But ultimately, I ended up going with Michigan. So my national champion is Michigan. We'll see if that continues for my official bracket. Make sure to check out the post tab in the next, definitely by Wednesday, I'll have that bracket up. Wednesday night, just to give myself a little time there. But thanks again for watching. And I will have timestamps on this, so you'll be able to go back and look at individual regions. If you want to see my in-depth analysis, you'll be able to click on the timestamp, go to the region you want, and take a look at what I had to say about your team or just a team you think is fun. But yeah, so excited that March Madness is almost here, and I hope you all are too. And with that, have a good night, and I hope to interact with you soon in the comments of shorts or community posts. Have a good night. Martin out.